Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakte Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachardane Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Paschachadishatarane. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Nitai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bo. Good evening, everyone. How's everybody tonight? Good. Well, tonight's topic is introspection. And Prabhu, can you put that letter up on the screen for me, please? So, do you remember a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, ISKCON Prabhu was giving a class here, and the topic of authenticity came up. You remember that? Yeah. I forget what I did 5 minutes ago. So. Anyway, it was a lively discussion. So I wanted to speak tonight on the topic of introspection in the context of authenticity, or becoming our true self, our honest self. And in order to understand what we are, first we have to acknowledge and admit or own what's not really ourselves. In other words, we can understand who we are first by understanding what we're not. And if we cannot see how we're manifesting in the world in an illusory way, if we can't witness that first, it's difficult to access our true self or our authentic self. And so last week, or the last time I was here, I told the story about the woman who was dreaming, and that story explains how we become lost in the material world and how we stay lost and how we continue to be lost until we're ready to acknowledge actually our authentic self. So I'll just tell that story again, and then from there we'll go off into the topic of introspection. And I'll just tell a little bit about my experiences with that notion or that concept of introspection, because it's in one way it's kind of, even that as a concept, it's not exactly accurate. But hopefully I'll remember to talk about that. Anyway, there was a woman, once was a woman, could be a man, but in this case it's a woman, and she's asleep and she's dreaming. And in the dream she's on a train. And while she was on the train, she lost her 2 suitcases. You can just imagine. And her 2 suitcases were her only possessions. Just like you ever see some homeless person on the street, they have their shopping cart, right? They don't have anything else. But they're very protective of it. So this woman, she had her 2 suitcases and that was it, and she lost them. So she was a little bit freaked out. Have you ever lost your wallet or left your credit card somewhere? Get a little anxious, right? So anyway, she began to search for her suitcases, and she looked in all the train compartments. And going, Indian trains, you can imagine trying to get through one end of the car to the other, then going through the little door, it slides open and you go through. Anyway, she looked everywhere, and as she was looking, she was asking everyone, have you seen my 2 suitcases? And no one had seen her 2 suitcases. So eventually she was becoming a little doubtful, a little hopeless. Oh my God, will I ever find my suitcases? And so as she thought like that, she became more and more anxious and desperate. And so at this point we could classify that she was having a bona fide nightmare. And at that point in the dream, externally, a car had driven by her house, right next to the bedroom where she was sleeping. And then it sounded its horn. And she started to awaken. And she was almost awake when she remembered her 2 suitcases. And then she thought to herself, I can't wake up yet. I haven't found my 2 suitcases. So she was about to go back into the dream to continue her search, and then it dawned on her, it occurred to her, that if she could just wake up, then she wasn't on a train, and she hadn't lost her 2 suitcases. So at that point, she made the choice to wake up. So this story reflects to us a fundamental truth about our own life. And that is, we came into this world as small children. And we didn't receive the unconditional love and acceptance that we really needed. And we weren't allowed to be ourselves or to express ourselves freely, right? So even, if we had parents that were very loving and had the best intentions, right? Because even our parents weren't really awake. They were also lost in their story. So that's our situation. And so naturally, when we're not allowed to be ourselves, and when we have to suppress ourselves, or we don't get what we need, because children ultimately, especially when they're so dependent, they need to feel safe. And if we don't feel safe, then we feel afraid. And if we feel afraid, that's where the compulsion to be in control arises from. This fear that I'm not okay. So then I have to go into the future and start planning, right? So these unmet needs and these emotional wounds that we suffer are our two suitcases. Those are our two suitcases. And so we go throughout life searching for love, acceptance, and approval. Basically, we become what I term nice-aholics. Right? There's alcoholics. There's workaholics. Yes. There's even religious-aholics. And different ways of trying to actually, we're looking for love, we're looking for acceptance, and we're looking for approval. We're looking to know that we're okay, but we're looking externally. And so the very act of looking for power, of looking for worthiness outside of ourselves, creates the very feelings of powerlessness and unworthiness that we're seeking to heal, really. It's a perfect little mousetrap Krishna's created. And so we go through our life like that, and actually we're really looking for someone to be present with us, and at the same time, we're looking to escape that pain that originally began when we, as young children. So when we don't get what we want, or we get what we don't want, it's painful. We actually generate misery for ourselves. Just like when we're feeling hurt, or we're feeling angry, right? We get angry at someone. We're actually in a state of suffering. We're in a state of pain. It's physically uncomfortable to be in the body or the mind when it's very angry. And we want to escape from that, even though we're actually creating it ourselves. There's a wanting to get away from that. So that's where we find different ways to distract ourselves. So if we were authentic, we would admit, I'm feeling angry, right? But we learn not to do that, right? It wasn't okay as a young kid to go around being angry. What to speak of if you're at work, right? You can't go up to the boss and say, I hate you. So we learn at a very young age to suppress those feelings. So that energy, it's energy, angry energy, it's a vibrational even. Yeah, everything has a vibration and is an energy. Just like if you walk into a room where two people have been arguing, you can feel the energy, right? You can walk in there, and even if they shut up when you walk in, you can feel the tension. It's there. And so that energy, where does it go if it's not expressed? It goes inside, yeah. It actually goes into the physical cells. You know, the mind and the body, they're really connected, right? and immediate. The state of mind is actually reflected in the cells of the body and can be felt as sensation, but they're really not separate. It's one unit, just like the software and the hardware, right? They work together, not independently. They don't exist. They cannot function one without the other. So that's there. So as children, we learn to suppress, and one way that we learn, we have strategies for acting in such a way that we hope people will like us, that we hope people will accept us. And we have a great fear of being rejected. When you look at it logically, you think, well, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? Somebody rejects you. If we look at it objectively, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But for a child, rejection is equal to death, starvation, right? I'll cease to exist. So actually the mind, or what we call the ego, or the person we imagine ourselves to be, is actually, if somebody criticizes us, or if you're having an argument, who's right and who's wrong, we see sometimes people actually escalate to the point of attack, right? Because the ego equates being wrong to death. For somebody who has what we'd say they have thin skin, right? So over the years, we develop these unconscious strategies to get approval and also to avoid the pain. So one way is to just always be nice. And another way is, to be a workaholic, right? To spend all your time at work, or to spend all your time doing something else to distract ourselves. What's been suppressed for years underneath. So part of the process of being authentic is the process of first recognizing, acknowledging, and owning and confessing our fears, our hurts, our angers. Otherwise that energy remains unconscious. In the Yoga Sutras, the second verse, Patanjali, he gives a definition of yoga. He says, Yogas chitta vritti narod. You've heard this verse? It's quite famous. Patanjali says, yoga at the time of Patanjali lived around the time of Buddha, I think, or maybe shortly after. So at that time, the word yoga was understood differently than it is now, like in the West. When you hear the word yoga in the West, of course we know as devotees yoga means to link, right? But what do most people think of the word yoga when they hear it? Huh? Yeah, some exercise from India that has miraculous effects, that makes you thinner, more beautiful, and can cure your ills. Which these are all true. But at the time of Patanjali, yoga and meditation were synonymous. So he said, yoga, chitta, vritti, narod. He said the goal of yoga, or the state of yoga, is chitta, vritti, narod. So what is chitta? Chitta actually, in the yoga literature, is the subtle body. Krishna says in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he explains the material energy. He says, Bhumir apo nalo vayu kam manobhara eva cha aham kara iti ame bina pakritarashchara. Could we have that up on the screen? It's chapter 7, verse 4. So we see that Bhumir, Apo, Nalo, Analo, Vayu, Kam, Mano, Buddhir, Evacha, Ahamkara Ityam Me, Bina Prakritirashchara. So Krishna, he is explaining actually in this verse and in the next verse the difference between matter and spirit. So he says the energy of matter, which can't be created or destroyed, which is eternal, but can diversify and become manifest and unmanifest. The grossest aspect of matter is earth, right? And then progressively subtler is water. Water is in between. If it's cold, it can be a solid. If it's heated up, it can become a gas. Then there's fire. And then there's air, and then there's ether, which is space. So we can feel the body, right? You can feel the heaviness of the body. You can shake the body and feel the water moving around. And if you're quiet for a second, you can feel the temperature of your skin. Can you feel your skin right now? Can you feel if it's cool or warm? You can actually feel the heat, right? So that's the fire element in the body. And then there's air. Take a deep breath. When you take a deep breath, that air that goes in, it takes 15 seconds to reach your toe and come back. You know that? And then come out. So air is moving. And it's an essential part of maintaining life in the body. And without the air, there's no fire. So, and then the space that it all happens is the ether. So these are all elements. That's the gross matter. And then the subtle matter is mind, intelligence, or ego, which you could also understand as thinking, feeling, and willing. So when you think, what do you think about? Basically, there's two categories. When you're having a thought, it's either about the past or the future, isn't it? Just like right now, you can imagine when you're a little boy or girl, and what image comes up for you. Do you have an image that comes up for you? Some memory? Can you take the microphone because we're on candid camera.
Thinking of past you are talking about, right?
Yeah, so remember a time when you were a young boy. And so an image has appeared in your mind, right? So what is that image? Describe it to us.
It's a physical appearance or surroundings.
What was the situation?
Appearance, surroundings, environment, place.
Yeah, where were you?
Past.
Where?
Which place you're talking about?
Yeah.
India.
And what do you see in the picture?
My home, where I used to stay.
Yeah. Is all that here now?
Yeah, in the mind it happens, yeah.
Is it here now
No,
in this moment?
not now.
So it's just a memory, right?
Yeah.
And it's actually, technically, it's called an internal representation, right?
True.
It's a picture of an experience you once had. So that is an energy. It's mental energy. So that is mind. The mind is the content of all of your past experiences and all of your concepts and beliefs and ideas and opinions and judgments and attitudes. They're all mental pictures. And then there is intelligence. So you have some strategy, right? Like, did you ever injure yourself when you were a kid?
Yeah, a couple of years back, being an adult,
Yeah, what happened?
I fell on the glass.
So you have that image, can you remember it?
Of course, yes.
No. And then doesn't instantly the intelligence kick in and also has a strategy for avoiding that in the future?
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Whenever I see a glass, I make sure I'm standing straight.
But you actually have a picture of some future event where the same thing might happen, but now you're avoiding it, right? Yeah. So that's all the intelligence is using our experience of the past and the strategies to get what we want or avoid getting what we don't want in the future, right? And we make our decisions, so that's buddhi, right? Then we make our decisions actually based on the ahankara, the false ego, based on what we imagine ourselves to be, right? So we have strategies of how to get the love and acceptance and approval that we want from others, right? Right? Now, what is wanting this love and approval and acceptance? Is it the real self? So we want to get love, right? Like, I want you to like me, right? And I'm hoping that you like my talk. Right? Why? Because I want your approval. I want to feel accepted by you and loved by you. Why do I need that? Who needs that? Is it me, or is it the person I imagine myself to be? So in that image, we're thinking, I'm not okay. But if others accept me, then I'm okay. But if others reject me, then I'm not okay. Yeah? So we have a strategy to avoid being not okay in front of others, right? So we dress in a certain way, we talk in a certain way. What are some of the strategies we have?
So just like you said, niceaholic.
Speak a little louder.
Just, audible. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is it audible now?
I think it's on, yeah.
Maybe the volume. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes, as you said, niceaholic, so we try to behave very nicely with anyone we meet. For example, if I join a new company, I would be trying to, be very good with everyone so that in future I have a good relationship with them. So that I think that's one example. Or any new place which we go for, or any outings we go for. So we would try to maintain a good, relation with anyone. I don't know why, but yeah. So that's one example I can think of.
Well, we learn it as children, right?
Yeah.
We learn what's acceptable and what's not.
Mm.
And we are actually threatened by those around us by rejection if we don't act as expected, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
So, underneath that feeling that I have to conform, I have to get other person's approval, underneath that is a fear that I won't. That maybe they'll reject me. Right? So that fear is always there. We just don't feel it, we don't notice it. We're not aware of it. In fact, we're not even in ourself. We're actually in our imagined self, or in our story that exists in the mind. Right? Those pictures we have of ourself in the past or in the future, that when we're lost in those pictures, we're actually not in ourself. We're somewhere else. We're out of body even. We give the example, if you're in a movie, if you're watching a movie, the screen comes on, the lights get dim, and the show begins, and what happens? The first thing that happens is that we forget we're watching the movie. At that point, we're identified, or our consciousness has projected itself into the movie, so we're in a state of unconsciousness, because we're unaware, we're unconscious of ourselves, of our life in this moment. So we're actually not in the self. Of course, we can never not be in the self, but our attention is projected and identified with the thoughts we have in our mind, which is our story, or what we call the person we imagine ourselves to be. So, in that sense, we're not authentic. So the first step in being authentic is to be able to recognize that, I'm in a state of fear, I'm lost in the mind, I'm lost in my story. And then, as we mentioned in the other class, the first step is to acknowledge that, and then to own it, to see, I've created this. Generally when we're angry or feeling hurt or somebody disrespects us and we feel bad, we think they're the source of it. And as long as we believe that, then we're powerless to change it. And we're actually not in ourselves. We're not taking responsibility. So the first step is to acknowledge and then own it, and then to really admit it or confess it. And then what you're doing actually is, then you're starting to enter the self, and you're bringing it into the light of consciousness. So, if you look at the physical elements, both the gross and the subtle, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego, they all have something in common with each other. They're called prakriti, they're called energies, and they're also called inferior energies. And why are they inferior? What do they all have in common? Yeah, and they're material, and they're all unconscious. There's no life there. There's no individual consciousness there. This is an important point to notice, because if you can see this, then you can begin to see the false ego. So just imagine a picture, bring up a picture of yourself as a little boy or a little girl. So now you're entering the mind, you're entering the world of time, you're entering into the past. And do you all have an image there? Look at your body, look at the surroundings, look at the people that are there in the image. So what do you see?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, when I see all this, it reminds me of energy, first thing.
So are you remembering yourself as a little boy?
No.
Well, I'm asking everyone right now to remember a time when you were a little boy or girl. So does some image pop into your mind now?
Yeah.
Okay, where are you?
School.
Okay. How old were you?
13.
13. And who's there?
All my friends.
Mm-hmm. And what are you doing?
Having lunch.
Having lunch. What are you eating? Chicken.
Yes. Bread, sandwich.
Yeah. Can you remember the taste?
Sorry?
Can you remember the taste?
Can I remember the taste? I had sandwich today.
So all those impressions are there. All the sensual impressions are there. And when you go into that image, it feels like you're there, doesn't it? Yeah. Although we're here, but when we go into the mind, we feel like we're there, and we feel like that's me.
Right.
Right? Then we feel like that's real or alive. But it's not. That's the false ego.
Yeah, I wish I can go back to that time.
Yeah. Everything was so nice, right? So that's what we do. Everyone liked me and no stress. And
Right.
yeah. So basically, whenever we go into the mind, whether it's something we like or something we don't like, we think that it's real. And we think that our life is there. But really our life is here. And as long as we're there, it's like a curtain. We can't experience our life here. We actually, then we enter to what Krishna calls Danva. Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistrigunya Vavarjana, Nirdanva Mukta Sashvasto, Nir Yoga Shema Atmavan. So when Krishna says, when you go into the past, into our mind, we go into the world of the mind and we go there, we experience a duality. We feel like we're there, but we're here. And we can't actually feel our life here. When we feel our life here, there's no duality. Because the soul, there is no duality. We actually have to go into that world of the mind and become lost there to experience the illusion of duality, which is the past and the future. And that's where the false ego lives. It's not alive, it doesn't have consciousness. But we project our consciousness into it, and then there's the illusion that the material energy is alive or has life, and we think we can find something there, and we can get something out of it. Oh, then he brought that up. We will come back to this verse, by the way, because Krishna explains to us the key to really introspection and the key to awakening. So, introspection is about becoming authentic, becoming the authentic self. But the term itself is a little bit not quite accurate, because introspection gives the connotation that I'm outside and I have to look in, which is part of the illusion. If you do notice your being in this moment, if you look, you won't be able to find where it begins or where it ends. It's a mental concept. So when we're actually introspective, it just means that we're actually inside ourself. There's no more in to go, and we're noticing the outside. Oh, we're noticing the thought. We're noticing it's the past, it's the future. So just again, I want you to bring up an image of your past as a child, and just take the first thing that pops up. You never know. And you got that image there. You can even see your body, right? And notice your attachment to it. Notice the sense that it's me and mine. Watch it. Look at it. See? So now you're actually on the inside looking out. That's introspection. It's actually looking out, observing what's outside of you, where you've projected your attention. And now notice the picture's there, right? And also notice that you're the one looking at it. You notice that. So that one looking at it is just awareness. Just pure awareness. It doesn't have a particular identity, although it does, but there's just that sense of I am. And what that I am is the process of bhakti yoga where that becomes revealed. But first we understand what I'm not, really. So there was a time in my personal history and devotional service where I'd kind of hit a crisis in my life, and just things weren't working for me, if I can honestly admit that to you. And even though I've been practicing for quite a long time. So this really, it shook my faith to the core. Because if we have if we have doubts about anything in life, that basically stops our progress. Even if you're literally walking down the street, suddenly it became dark. Just say you were walking down the street lights are on, and the power goes out and it becomes dark. What are you going to do? You're going to stop. Right? Everything stops. Actually, if something suddenly terrible happens, even your breath will stop. Right? You go, and then you got to breathe again. So, basically, doubts come from three sources. We may doubt the process itself. We may doubt the teacher, or we may doubt our own ability to do it. And we may have all those doubts at one time or at different times in our life. You might have doubts about each one of them at different times. So at that particular phase in my life, I was actually experiencing all three at one time. Yeah. But especially I was thinking, well, maybe others can do it, but I can't. It's not working for me. Or I was thinking, well, maybe they're just pretending. Maybe it's not working for them either. And then I was thinking, well, maybe my spiritual master didn't teach me everything. Maybe he taught me some things, but maybe there's something I missed. And so at that point, I was actually in so much of a crisis that I couldn't do anything. I'd actually stopped chanting even. And so I was really having real trouble coping. And but still, I guess, by Prabhupada's grace, he instilled in me one thing that I've never had any doubt about. But until I met Srila Prabhupada, I wasn't aware of. And that is that I'm an eternal spirit soul, and that I'm part of God, and that I can never become God, and that I am a dependent part. That had been seared into my soul. So I've never had any doubt about that. So I was praying for guidance and direction. So this is the first thing about introspection, or even about becoming authentic. Even if we don't know how to do it, if we don't know how to introspect, or we don't know how to become authentic, if we have the intention to introspect, or if we have the intention to become really honest and real, we'll be guided externally or internally or both, and how to do that. So as soon as I had that intention, I was, praying to Prabhupada and Krishna. I still had enough faith to do that. I was reading Prabhupada's letters. And, there's like 5 volumes of letters. You can't get them now, but they're in the database. I don't know if the originals are all still there. But someone had gifted me, a friend of mine had gifted me those 5 volumes back in the, right when they first came out, like in the, like 1980 something. So what I'm talking to you right now occurred to me in 1990. 1992, 91, 92, that area. So I was still working, kids were still pretty young. So I started reading Prabhupada's letters, and I read this letter that basically showed me where I had gone wrong, at least in my understanding, or the part that I'd really missed. So Prabhu, can we bring up that letter now? Let's see. That's kind of small, huh? Can you read that? So Prabhupada was actually replying to a letter that he had received from a prospective member to his League of Devotees. You may be aware of it, you may not, but before Prabhupada came to the West, he tried to establish an organization of Krishna consciousness in India, and he called it the League of Devotees, and I think he was living in Jhansi, which is that near Prayag? Oh, Madhya Pradesh. So he was living there, and I think he's still even, no, he had already retired, I think. So he wrote, apparently someone had written to him, so he was writing him back. So I'm just going to read this to you. So this letter changed my devotional life, and just gave me the insight I needed to hear at the time. So Prabhupada said, the happiness which you are hankering after is possible to be obtained as soon as you learn to introspect yourself within yourself. You are yourself your friend, and you are yourself your enemy. You can raise yourself by your self-effort, and you can down yourself by the same effort. It is simply to know the direction and the way. In the right direction, you can make yourself happy in the right way. Please therefore contact us, and we shall help you to raise yourself to your normal happiness. It is no dream, neither is it any bluff. You shall know yourself how far you have made progress in that path, and our duty will be to help you only. Thinking that you should be a prospective member of the League of Devotees, I am sending you herewith a copy of the prospectus, and I wish most sincerely that you should become an active member of this great institution. Pay or pay not, you can become a member without obligation, and the League welcomes you always, accepting you as a divine child. What do you think of that letter? Isn't that, it's very nectar. You can see the Prabhupada's unedited personality, right, and way of preaching to someone. Besides what he's saying, just his completely non-sectarian approach, and he's not stressing any kind of belief, even a philosophy. He's stressing how it's actually up to us, just like Krishna says in chapter 6, that the mind can be the friend or your enemy. And that area is 100% our responsibility. We can, by how we, if we master our mind, it becomes our friend. And if we don't master our mind, it becomes our enemy. But, no one can do that for us. That part we have to do. It's our choice because it's our free will, right? Do you know what your next thought is going to be? Do you know what your next thought is going to be? No. So we can't control that, right? Of course, we can, to a certain degree, minimize the thoughts or control what thoughts are there in the mind by what we associate with, what we, what we listen to, what we see, what impressions, we expose ourselves to. But we also have impressions from, when we were children, and even from past lives. We have already attachments and aversions and affinities that are already impressions there, samskaras there from the past. And so those are always reactive, and we really can't control what's going to come up next. But we do have control over if we're going to allow it to stay there or not. Or if we're going to become absorbed in it or not. That's our free will. We have to make that choice, what we're going to do with it at that moment. And that choice is always there, moment to moment. And that's actually the beginning of introspection. So anyway, when I heard this letter, I thought, wow, what is introspection? What does that mean? That if I learn to look within, I can actually find happiness? I can find what I'm really looking for? That means if I don't learn how to do that, I won't. And I understood that the years that I spent chanting, a lot of it, I wasn't there. I wasn't here. I was there. I was lost in my mind. Even while I was chanting, I was thinking of all kinds of other stuff. So what did I expect? I wasn't there for the holy name. So I understood, oh wow. It took me a long time to understand that, but finally this made sense. It had nothing to do with the teaching, it had nothing to do with my teacher, it was all on me. I didn't apply it correctly. I remember when I first joined and was given a pair of japa beads and was taught the Hare Krishna mantra, I was told, just hear and chant. And sometimes you hear that on a tape, Prabhupada will say, just hear and chant. Or he also says, chant with reverence and attention. Reverence and attention. That's proper chanting. So to just actually chant and hear is very significant. It means you actually have to be here. You have to be present. So really, introspection is nothing more than being present, or what Krishna would call Atmavan. So can we look at that verse, chapter 2, verse 45? I'll just chant it and then you can repeat and chant it. Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdanbanitya Sasvashto Niryoga Shema Atmavan. How much time do we have before the class ends? Huh? That's only until 7:30? Oh my God. Well, in this verse we find the secret of introspection. It's not a secret. I mean, we find the key to introspection. Krishna says the Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these modes. Be free from all dualities and from anxiety for gain and safety, and be established in the self. So, when we're in the mind, we're lamenting the past and we're planning for the future. Right? So basically, Krishna is saying that if you're thinking about gain and safety, these are just examples. What he's saying is, when you go within the mind, when you go within that world and you don't know it, then you're not in the self. Your attention, your self is projected out into something that's not alive, into something that's not real. And you feel separate, or you have the experience of duality. And the ultimate duality is imagining that we're separate from God. So when we're lost in the mind and we don't know it, we cannot experience our life in this moment, and we feel separate from our source. So he said, don't go there, be established in the self. Now I'm not saying not to think or not to plan. What I'm saying is that some minutes a day, especially when we chant, we have to spend time in presence, in innocence, and that will open us up to a heightened awareness of the sacredness of life, our own life. We'll feel alive, we'll feel connected with Krishna. First you have to feel your life, then you'll feel connected with the source of your life. Even if you don't see the sun, when you see the sun rays, when it's light out, you know the sun's there, even though you can't see the sun, isn't it? You feel connected with the sun even before you see it. So when you bring your attention present, which means you're just aware of yourself in this moment. The easiest way to do that is to use the body, and really that's what the physical body is for. Because the mind is very subtle and difficult. But if you're feeling life in the body, then you are not in the mind. And I'll just demonstrate this. Can you feel your right hand? Right? Were you feeling your right hand before I asked you to? No. But as soon as you put your attention there, you felt it. It's instantaneous. Does it take any effort to feel your hand? And actually you're knowing your hand. You're conscious of your hand. But you can only be conscious of your hand in this moment, isn't it? Can you be conscious of your hand tomorrow? Or yesterday? Now that's an image. Now you're in the mind. So you can only feel your life in this moment, the true you, the authentic self. And you can use your body to anchor your attention in the present and feel your life. So just like right now, even though your eyes are open, can you feel the top of your head? Yes? Can you look at me and feel the top of your head? Is that difficult? Yeah. Now feel your face and your arms, but still listen to me. And now feel your whole body. Can you feel your whole body? Now just close your eyes for a second. And notice your breathing. And can you feel how consciousness is illuminating the body with life, with the feeling of life? That's not the mind. That's your direct experience of life, which is all satisfying. Just feel your life for a second. Does it feel disconnected? Do you feel like you need anything in this moment when you just feel your life? The illusion of separation drops away. The satisfaction that we're looking for is there. It's part of the self. And of course, when we connect with the super self, it has unlimited potential. So now, just close your eyes and feel your life, feel your breath, and as you're actually feeling your body, begin to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. But keep feeling your body. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Now, see if you can feel how your body is actually vibrating as you chant. Feel the cells vibrating. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So, from this state, you're actually Atmavan. And whenever the attention drifts into the mind, you can easily catch it. You can easily observe it. And even if you observe it later on, you can come back to the body and back to the experience of your life in this moment by feeling life in the body. And that will anchor you into what we call the truth of life, or the reality of life, which is always here right now. So, the mind itself is of the past and the future. It has nothing to do with now. And when we become identified with our thoughts and our memories and our imaginations, we take ourselves out of the present moment, and we take ourselves into an illusory world of duality, and we actually prohibit ourselves from the experience of our life in this moment, which is the cause of all of our feeling of dissatisfaction and fear and everything. So I just hope you'll take that with you. Do we have any time? Do we have to end now, or do we have a few moments for reflections?
We can have a silent artic also if you like.
We can start with a silent artic?
Yeah, you can go on with the class and we can have a silent artic if you'd like.
Okay. I would like to hear a few questions or comments, and then we can have we'll join in the artic and then do the Damodarastakam. So what did you hear tonight that resonated with you, if anything? Or was there anything that was confusing? Krishna.
So, some time back I was listening to one of the words from the saint, some sadhu or something like that. And there was one question from the person is that if we are detached from the supreme soul, if we consider that we are detached right now from the super soul and we have to go back to the Supreme Lord, what is the reason for the detachment, why we were detached before? You understand my question?
So how did we become separated from God?
Yeah, now we are separated from God, but what was the reason that we were separated from God?
Oh, well, of course, that's the question that every religion tries to answer. And even in our religion, even in the Vedas, you will not find a definitive answer. And of course, the acharyas have mentioned, especially Bhaktivinoda Thakur, saying that from our level of consciousness, it's not something we can really understand. But are we ever separate from our source? So actually we're only imagining that we're separate. And the more you become grounded in the present moment, in the reality of your life in the present moment, the more you will see that there's nothing separate from Krishna, and has never been separate. So we're imagining that we're separate, we're dreaming. We're lost in a dream, basically, imagining that I'm separate. And actually, especially when we're lost in the mind. So first, discover yourself, and then you'll understand, by your direct experience, as Prabhupada was mentioning here in the letter, that actually you are connected. And it's only when we fall into forgetfulness, in the dream, that we don't know this. Now, as far as how and when that happened, the Vedas say it's a nadi karma, which means you cannot trace out the beginning, but there is a beginning. And the other way to look at it, you can read in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13, verse 20. If you read the purport, and Prabhupada gives, for me, a very satisfying explanation, explaining how we may not understand, but God does. Krishna does. We may not remember or understand how or why it happened. But everything is purposeful, and everything is good because God is good. So one way, this is the way I look at it, and this may not satisfy you, maybe it will. But just imagine that you're walking along a pier. Have you ever been down to Pacifica? There's a nice pier that goes out into the water. When you get out to the end, it's about 30 feet above the water. So imagine you walked out to the end of the pier and you were standing up on the ledge, and then you fell off and you fell into the water. What would be your concern at that point? What would be our priority? Getting out, right? Would it really matter how you fell? It doesn't matter if somebody pushed you or you lost your balance or it was an accident. Yeah. So, we may not understand exactly what our purpose is here for coming in. And I do believe Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he explains that it's part of the Lord's Shristi Leela. And we have a very important part of, being a soul that falls into duality, becomes lost and forgets God and then finds Him again. That's a certain experience. It's a certain change of consciousness that can only come about by actually going on this journey. It's very purposeful, and everyone will come out of it. It's not so much that we're bad, So I would look at it that way, that it's obvious that we are here, that much we do know. So you're in the water, you're drowning, let's get out, let's get back onto land. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. So we can finish and then we can join the Arctic. And then when does the Damodarastakam begin? 8 o'clock? And then is someone here going to sing it? We have ghee lamps and everything? Oh, great. Okay, well thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to the assembled Vaishnavas.